Good day. My name is David Gamble, retired high school with some years' experience. With some observations, I'm giving you part two of my Twelfth Night collection, only there are only two parts. I hope you would have a look at part one at some time. Basically, it's to enhance people's tickets or help them with their homework, or perhaps beginning teachers might get some tips out of this and be useful in the classroom. To begin, this lecture will introduce themes, structures, and background elements that coalesce in the text, for they do not operate in isolation, but integrate. The topics will be reviewed with reference to the events and characters in plots. However, I will assume that the plot of the play is familiar to this audience because I won't do a plot summary. That I reserve for the part one of the Twelfth Night lecture. I will assume the text has been read, studied, and or seen. Twelfth Night was first presented on February the 2nd, 1602, in the final days of the reign of Queen Elizabeth. It is a farce, perhaps merely a sitcom on the surface, but carries in the text the conflicts and the culture of the early 16th century and, as always with the bard, insights into the subtleties of human behavior. In 1602, it was first presented on the last day of the Christmas holidays, the Feast of the Epiphany. That evening, often being an occasion of high-spirited partying and celebrations. Hence, the play is raucous, the plot chaotic, the tangle knotted, fitting for the high spirits of the festivities of the season. As Viola says, caught in a gender-deceptive triangle with her boss, the Lady Olivia and her own disguised self, "O time, thou must untangle this, not I. It is too hard a knot for me to untie." Act 1, Scene 2, line 40 to 41. Coincidence, fate, and the unexpected take the upper hand as Viola arrives from that uncontrollable element, the sea. However, in Twelfth Night, Shakespeare diverges from his standard device of sending the principal characters into the wilderness to be sorted out. In so many other plays, his major characters run off into a liminal space with his forces of coincidence away from the status quo of the workaday world, the court, and the average ordinary life. For example, A Midsummer Night's Dream finds the characters enveloped within the magic of Oberon's forest. Rosalind and Orlando run through the forest of Arden in As You Like It, and Imogen in Cymbeline finds herself in a trial by ordeal in the wilds of Wales. In the liminal space away from the status quo, the threads are tied together over time, although initially presented as irreconcilable, as reflected in Viola's invocation of time itself, to clean up the mess. However, in this play, the restive sea, that unformed generative force, a liminal space that spews up two characters who initially complicate, but by the end are resolution to the stasis in the main plot between Orsino and Olivia. The liminal space delivers its characters to the center, a reversal, an opposite of the aforementioned works. However, disguise has its own way over time to find the good, to untangle the frayed ends. As Viola has said, she has faith. The disguised eunuch in Orsino's court initially has complicated matters, but as Viola has said, time takes its time, ultimately breaking the stasis with a new order, but not without considerable pain and anguish. As love would have it, the sufferings are the dues. Gender and sexual ambiguity are core to the complications for the topic of nature of genders. Indeed, male dominance is debated. By the end of the play, the woman has gained, if not ascendancy, at least equity. As the lead characters in the play argue the nature of genders, certainly an issue for all time. The issue becomes particularly relevant in our woke 21st century, challenging the rigid male dominance of the period. Shakespeare's narrative often shaped the heroines as independent, strong women who bring order out of chaos, narrowly missing catastrophe. Twelfth Night is no exception in this play. Viola has that in her role, as do Imogen in Cymbeline, Rosalind in As You Like It, Helen in All's Well That Ends Well, Portia in A Merchant of Venice, and certainly Isabel, particularly in Measure for Measure, to name a few. In this romantic comedy, the author faces us with contrasting love situations in three male characters. With its male variations from Sir Andrew, pure burlesque, and Malvolio, pitiable self-delusion, we reach the pinnacle with the majestic sufferings of the Grand Duke Orsino. While the first two may be ribald entertainment, the author has much more to say about love coming from the more erudite characters. Thematically, the burlesque romances of the Low Comedy set up a dramatic contrast to nobility. Orsino, at the outset, exposes himself as a caricature of the suffering lover, for his vanity and self-love are apparent in the opening scene. This young aristocrat has little else to do but bemoan his sufferance, which he has raised to an art form. One must question whether he is in love or in love with himself, in suffering for love. He laments, "If music be the food of love, play on. Give me excess of it, that serviting the appetite may sicken and so die." Oh, that strain again, it had a dying fall. Oh, it came o'er my ear like the sweet sound that breathes upon a bank of violets, stealing and giving order. Enough, no more. Act 1, Scene 1, 1-7. In the throes of love, he longs for its sickening and death. He wants it and doesn't want it. However, his plight is mythic as he compares himself to Actaeon, who, having been caught gazing on the naked goddess Diana, bathing, is torn apart by his hunting dogs. His desires are materialized, incarnated by the offended goddess as they tear apart the heart, pun intended. His physical lust is punished. Viola is loved for her higher qualities by both Orsino and Olivia. In elevated tones, educated, poetic, grand, Orsino's characterization establishes a model with which Shakespeare faces us: self-infatuated suffering. Opening in grandiose, even mythic poetry, Orsino is undistracted by humility. "Oh, when mine eyes did see Olivia first, methought she purged the air of pestilence. That instant was I turned into a hart, and my desires, like fell and cruel hounds, ere since pursue me." Act 1, Scene 1, 20-25. Orsino is tortured immeasurably by his love, or his fantasy of love. The audience, enjoying the self-inflicted hyperbole, is intended to doubt the depth of his love. However, his poetry elevates the dilemma. Shakespeare would have us pay attention. In opposition, real love is figured in Viola. Orsino's love of Olivia is self-absorbed. The man is in love with his own imaginings. Even Olivia is in love with suffering and the death of her brother, a romance of mourning. However, the veil is abandoned quickly when she is attracted to the refined Viola. As Cesario, never having heard the word eunuch in association, Viola, on the other hand, bears love within the strictures of duty. Her love is not self-infatuated, a very human pitfall, as Shakespeare holds up the mirror to our vanities. In Act 2, Scene 4, Orsino and the disguised young woman debate the nature of love from opposing genders, while Orsino bonds with his fellow Guy, his page. "Oh, there is no woman's sighs can bide the beating of so strong a passion as love doth give my heart. No woman's heart so big to hold so much. They lack retention." Act 2, Scene 4, 104. The disguise allows proud male's speech, guy to guy. The dramatic irony underscores her response and the male-dominant attitudes of the times. Orsino is not a modest man. Not only does he take the male's superior position, but his view of himself is poetically tragic. He is the greatest lover, the grandest victor, the most suffering hero, for his gender, he thinks, has greater depth. He is, after all, a man. In Cesario, the woman gains credit over the man, not an exception from other plays where his women manifest resourcefulness, duty, strength, patience, and so many other qualities. Consistent with not just these times, Orsino's sense of male superiority is not out of context. Although referring to succumbing to witchcraft, the assignation of inferiority to the woman was not uncommon, for James I has written, and he wrote a book on demonology that was quite popular in 1597. James I had written, before he becomes king of England, "The reason is easy, for as that sex is frailer than man is," as quoted by Marjorie Garber in Shakespeare in the Modern Culture. Viola's answer, maintaining the dramatic irony of disguise, argues that the frailer sex, of course, referring to herself as the daughter of her father who never told her love. She pined in thought, and with a green and yellow melancholy. She sat like Patience on a monument, smiling at grief. Was this not love indeed? Act 2, Scene 4, 124-7. With Olivia, Cesario's presentation bespeaks a quality that neither of the two noble characters between whom she is caught can match. Olivia gives testimony, and this is interesting. Thy tongue, thy face, thy limbs, actions, spirit, do give thee fivefold blazon. Not too fast, soft, unless the master were the man. How now? Even so quickly may one catch the plague? Methinks I feel this youth's perfections with an invisible and subtle stealth to creep in at mine eyes. Viola is the very model in speech, manner, looks, spirit. There is something indefinable about Cesario that captures the now distracted Olivia. Her ladyship becomes frantic, dissimulating with the ring carried by Malvolio to lure Cesario back. Olivia's deception alerts Viola as she considers the cunning of her passion invites me in this churlish messenger. None of my lord's ring? Why, he sent her none. I am the man. If it be so, as 'tis, poor lady, she were better love a dream. Disguise, I see, thou art a wickedness, wherein the pregnant enemy does much. Olivia was right about Cesario. Her spirit shines in this realization. Her spirit shines in this realization, for she manifests both pity for the lady and moral indignation for the harm deception can do for the pregnant enemy, i.e., Satan. In her humility, she, in tune with the times, blames her gender where it is easy for the proper false in women's waxen hearts to set their forms. She had admitted this to Orsino, for she was speaking about personal experience as the page eunuch. Nor is Viola bombastic as Orsino is in her love. Rather, is she only dutiful in patience, as she said, and humility. This is the spirit that Olivia has sensed her essential quality. That's Viola's essential quality. Shakespeare has demonstrated love between two foils. In the debate in Act 2, who wins? The self-absorbed protestations of the Duke screams, adolescent, in comparison to Viola's love, which sits like Patience on a monument. Hardly a quality which Orsino can claim. Olivia, as it turns out, becomes frantic, almost impatient. Most impatient. Shakespeare has set up here a not-so-hidden life lesson in the nature of love, with opposites serving to make the statement as she takes on, Viola that is, takes on moderation, control, and sufferance. The dramatic irony sets the stage. It's food for our emotional intelligence. As is commonly known, the cross-dressing of males for female parts was based in custom and law of the day. However, conforming to standards in the earlier period, women were not to appear on stage, thereby necessitating cross-dressing. Of course, all women were played by men of varying shapes, sizes, and ages, respective of the narrative roles. The theme of gender fluidity in this play emanates from those laws of the day. The author in Twelfth Night took it one step further. The gender becomes not only a thematic element, but a core driver of the plot with its attendant dramatically ironic setup. In this play, gender fluidity, confusion, and sexual ambivalence are presented, enabling the play to become timeless, speaking volumes to the audiences of the 21st woke century. Therefore, in summary, in Twelfth Night, there is a gender fluidity emanating from the confusions in the main plot, wherein an attractive female youth plays a handsome young man, indeed a eunuch, of soft looks and refinement, with Viola the woman disguised as Cesario the youth. As a result, there's a very strong affection felt by her boss, the local Count Orsino, for the virtues and attributes of the disguised Viola as Cesario, now his employee. In the major complication, her disguise is so perfected that a local aristocrat, Olivia, falls in love with her male affectation as Cesario. Indeed, it is that character undisguised that Orsino takes as his mistress. As nuance, there is a strongly attractive intersex quality to the youth, Viola Cesario. Orsino has a strong affection for the young boy, and Olivia is strongly attracted to the between character. The motif of gender fluidity becomes irrepressible. It is exactly that inter quality, the between quality, that has created this drama. Gender, gender, gender. There is nothing new in our woke. This is nothing new in our woke world. This is fertile ground for his comedy, and chaos follows. Additionally, there is a background relationship between two characters, Antonio and Sebastian, that hints of homosexual love by Antonio towards Sebastian, who happens to be Viola's missing brother. The suggestion is there, but is used only as plot motivation when Antonio's loyalty is thwarted as a plot device, creating greater confusion. Remember, Antonio refers to Sebastian as a god. Gender rigidity is questioned and sexuality is nuanced with only suggestions, and there are debates about that. In the next category, elements are intertwined. The list would be simply the following: social class, political conflict, violence and cruelty versus love and laughter. It's relevant to remember that this period is a time of radical change on many levels. The subplot of Maria's revenge rests on the background social conflicts of the times. Sir Toby tips us off with his complaint, setting up the opposition of love versus laughter. Love and laughter against violence and cruelty, both in the story. Love and laughter versus violence and cruelty. Sir Toby's bacchanalian riot, as he ranted in his opening line, "What a plague means my niece to take the death of her brother thus, I'm sure cares an enemy to life." Big line. Clashes with Malvolio's Hasidic control, ordered by her ladyship. Not only does Toby announce his hedonism as priority over the mourning of his nephew, but the target becomes Malvolio, the symbol of restriction, merely carrying out his ladyship's wishes. It's his job. Becoming the target, this condescending steward warns Sir Toby and his troop. "Sir Toby, I must be round with you. My lady bade me tell you that, though she harbours you as her kinsman, she's nothing allied to your disorders. If you can separate yourself and your misdemeanours, you are welcome to the house. If not, and it would please you to take leave of her, she is very willing to bid you farewell." Act 2, Scene 395 to 101. He turns the same condescension onto Maria. As Malvolio effects his dour control, the revenge plan follows. Maria goes to work. There will be no moderation. The subplot demands background. The religious conflicts were intense. England had three levels. Roman Catholics still suppressed but agitating, the Church of England ascendant and dominant, and the dissenters, known as Puritans, gathering strength toward a victory in 1649 after the total banning of theatres in 1642. While Elizabeth calmed the intensity, the issue was not abated. In this play, the latter two conflict with a farcical subplot, with Malvolio the Puritan at odds with the establishment downstairs in Sir Toby's troupe. However, Malvolio the Puritan becomes abominably treated, so that the themes of cruelty versus laughter emerge. Furthermore, Malvolio's being a Puritan has a textual basis. Maria, accusing, says, "Marry, sir, sometimes he is a kind of Puritan." That's 2.3, 139. However, she adds that Malvolio is nothing but a hypocritical narcissist, not a spiritual devout, perhaps a jibe at all Puritans. The devil a Puritan that he is, or anything constantly but a time-pleaser, an affectioned ass that cons state without book, and utters it by great swaths. The best persuaded of himself, so crammed, as he thinks, with excellencies, that it is his grounds of faith that all that look on him love him. Act 2, Scene 3, 145. Puritanism was a harsh reality for artists, for they were present with power. In Elizabeth's court, Sir Francis Walsingham, the great spy master, as supporter of the Huguenots, had leaned strongly in that direction. Sir Andrew mentions Brownist, that's 3.2.31, a reference to Robert Brown, a devoted Puritan in his early life, of no slight influence. Furthermore, the English were aware of the strictness of the Calvinists in Europe. The influence of repressive Puritans was a reality. The revenge plot has social political gravitas, for such Puritanism was a clear and present danger for many. So Malvolio the Puritan becomes a target as a vain, pretentious fool, as he is handled so brutally and viciously in this dark revenge plot. Historically, this fits, for it was the Puritans who wished to close all theaters to the public, and did in 1642, as they gained ascendancy. Thus, playwrights and their associated industries fell out of work. In fact, theaters had been built outside the city of London in these times due to their influence, that is, Puritan influence, placing bear-baiting, brothels, and theaters on the south side of the Thames. It was a rough area. Shakespeare was not the only playwright of the day who came with the group. Ben Jonson did as well. So what did they do to Malvolio? First, they had him dress up in yellow stockings and cross garters. He imagined himself in a branched velvet gown, as Count Malvolio. Each was an offense. Elizabeth I had passed sumptuary laws in 1574, which were to guarantee two aspects of English life. The elaborate and embellished fashions of the European Renaissance were making their way to England, challenging the clothing production by locals. Malvolio has indulged, even in an effeminate style, as another offense to Puritans. So he is challenging both law and his own. There was also a concern that if fashions got out of hand, soon one would not be able to tell a commoner from a nobleman. Oh dear, very class-oriented society. Malvolio's wanting such a gown to go with a title he would be refused even by marrying his lady is an affront to the law. Of course, he must be mad. In his madness, he is held in a dark room and bound. Act 3, Scene 4, line 144. For it seems he is possessed of an evil spirit. Such was not out of the question, for demonology was in keeping with the times, as farcical as this situation was. Remember the burning of women. So the insufferable Malvolio has broken laws and is treated as possessed. Even Toby admits this has gone too far. So in this play, the burlesque has context and grounding. Perhaps time, as Viola stated, works it out. The gender restrictions ended, for the first woman to appear on the English stage was Margaret Hughes, otherwise known as Peg Hughes, in 1660 in the role of Desdemona, at the beginning of the restoration of the Stuart monarchy. The puritanical ban on theatre of 1642 was rescinded, with the added snub to the Puritans with an actress, Peg Hughes, becoming a star as the female artist, as Feste stated, and thus the whirligig of time brings in its revenges. At 5 Scene 1, line 399. While our ease of laughter may initially be the revenge plan, in which we partake willingly, by the conclusion of the abject cruelty visited on such a priggish fool shakes our sense of justice. it really is uncomfortable by the end with what they've done to Malvolio. It is cruel. The ending is not totally happy in this comedy. This tag end, it's like a burr in your bonnet, for there is a bitter taste from such nastiness. It is such a far cry from ending as in The Tempest that appeals to forgiveness and mercy. Shakespeare prods us, for in the Renaissance, Epicurus and Socrates espousing of moderation and the middle way were part of the curriculum. The battle between laughter and revenge is unresolved. The victim vows to have his day. Revenge in this story promises more revenge. Malvolio curses, in that 5-scene 1, line 401, "I'll be revenged on the whole pack of you." Who was it said, "An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind"? Neither Toby's ribaldry nor Malvolio's meanness is celebrated. The nature of love in the main plots and the admonition against cruelty in the subplots give both hope and a lesson. I believe that Shakespeare demonstrates two levels of love in this play. If we trust to the future, love in its fullest will capture us. If we trust and have faith, time, as Viola said, will untangle. However, there is a force higher than the physical. Not to downplay it as the finale suggests, both Orsino and Olivia attest to the same quality of nature in Cesario. For Olivia, the youth's perfections, in Act 1, Scene 5, 302, the youth's perfections have an invisible stealth that enters through her eyes. Certainly not just physical, as she mentions spirit. Furthermore, Orsino not only admires Cesario for his fine soft features, but the Lord has unclasped to thee, Cesario, the book even of my secret soul. The spirit of love has taken hold. When the physical breaks free of the deception of the disguise, and glorious truth is revealed, and the pregnant enemy, the evil of falseness, is banished, full human love is recovered for all. Certainly there is no transgender theme here, but rather the celebration of virtue in spirit, the good psyche. With the completion of the physical, for it seems to be that, God's natural order is fulfilled. Thank you very much.